Today on Midlife Conversations, I've got Erin Souza. Now, she's a board certified holistic health practitioner. Now, the reason I wanted to have her on specifically is as I've been sharing, if you follow me on social media and if you've heard my episodes leading up to this a little while back, I'm having an explant surgery coming up here very shortly. And that has brought a lot of questions about breast implant illness, what that is. Is it real? Do I have to remove them if I have implants and I'm not feeling anything? Lots of questions around that. So who this show is for today, one, if you have breast implants or if you are considering getting them or getting them out, anything breast implant related, we're going to be getting into that. If you've got a loved one that has them, this will be interesting to you. But this also will be helpful to you if you've just been feeling off, because we're going to talk about all types of things that could be entering into us that we're not maybe aware of. We call them mycotoxins and things happening. So I think you'll find this helpful for that. Also, if you have any kind of upcoming surgery, this will be helpful to you. But I want to introduce Erin. The reason Erin came into my world is I was sharing on social media, like I always do, about what was going on. And I was getting a lot of opinions and messages about BII, which is breast implant illness, Explant, taking them out, not taking them out, just a lot of conversation. And quite frankly, I didn't see all of the comments or conversation, but hers happened to stand out to me. One, because she really didn't judge. She didn't have a strong opinion. She didn't say like, you have to get them out or you have to keep, she approached really nice. And she basically said, hey, I went through exactly what you went through. And I'm happy to support if there's any resources I can give you. And when I clicked on her profile, I saw that she actually specializes in this. And I thought, I've got to learn more. So we started a conversation and she ended up being super helpful to me. So today on this, not only am I interviewing her and getting information for you, but she's also going to be real live time coaching me through what I need to be doing leading up to surgery. So you'll be listening in on that. So thanks, Erin, so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me.
So let's back up a little bit. First of all, what made you reach out to me?
One of my friends actually had tagged me in your post. I had followed you for many, many years, and on my professional Instagram account, she had tagged me there and said, look, Natalie's going through this. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I've been following Natalie for years. And actually, you don't know this, Natalie, but I followed you when I very first got into my health journey, and you're one of the people that I like idolized, like, oh, I want a body like hers. And it really made me want to get implants. Not that you were the reason.
So
not that you were the reason.
I might have caused you to get implants. Oh boy. That's funny.
But she tagged me there, and I don't know, I just watched your story and I just really felt connected to you. I felt your emotion and I knew everything that you were going through. So I just really felt compelled to message you and give you that support if you wanted it.
So talk to me about what your implant journey was a little bit. Like well, now I clearly know I was the problem.
No.
For me, but what made you get them? What led you to removing them? And then what led you to specializing and helping others going through this?
Okay, so I got my implants in 2016, and the reason why I got mine was because I had my first child in 2007 and breastfed him for a year. I just felt very, very insecure after getting them. A lot of moms will relate to this, but after you breastfeed, your breasts are just really deflated. And I felt like every time I bent down, I had like hanging bananas off my chest. And I spent a lot of time working on my body image. I was working out 5 days a week, and I just didn't feel good. I didn't feel secure and confident in that area. So I saved for a lot of years, and I still remember like walking into my plastic surgeon's office, so confident in my decision, like, yes, it almost felt like I was leveling up in that area. And
I can relate to that. That's how I felt at 19 when I got them.
Yeah. And I don't know. I got them in 2016, and then it only took me 3.5 months to start feeling symptoms. Some people, they don't feel symptoms for years or maybe not at all. But for me, it was 3.5 months. My thyroid started to go wonky. I was gaining weight. My hair was falling out. I had joint pain. I had rashes, brain fog, fatigue. I mean, the symptoms just kept going on. And I was going to my doctor nonstop because I was like, this can't be right. Something's not right. I'm not doing anything different. I'm eating super healthy. I'm working out. Why am I gaining weight? What's going on? My blood work kept coming back perfect. Like, in fact, the doctor had told me.
Other than it sounds like your thyroid, because you said that was off. So
the thyroid wasn't super off. It was like underperforming.
Okay.
It wasn't enough to say, hey, you're hypothyroid yet.
Got it.
And so he was like, you know what? You're going to have to find a guy that lives a really long time because your blood work is that perfect. I think you just need to exercise more or sleep more. And I think it was around late 2017, I actually stumbled across a Facebook group called Breast Implant Illness and Healing, I think by Nicole Dorada. And I knew instantly that that's what I was going through. There was literally hundreds of stories of women going through the same thing as me.
So Erin, I'm going to be really honest with you that until I decided to explant, until I had this last rupture, the BII people annoyed the heck out of me. It was like, to me, it was like this cult community. And I don't mean that group specifically, but any of my friends that have implants that were not removing them or not, it's like we all felt we were getting attacked. Like, you have to, everybody has BII, and I honestly, I didn't dismiss that people actually have it. I never questioned that. I just never believed like everybody has it. Can you speak into that? And then I'll share kind of like what came up for me later.
Well, that's kind of a loaded question. Like, does everybody have it? I don't know, because there are so many different things that overlap with the symptoms that come along with breast implant illness that I feel like it's kind of hard to tell. You know, is it aging? Is it hormone imbalance? What is it really caused from? Will everybody get BII? The answer is, I don't know. You know, there's no way to really say. I think the majority of people at some point in time will experience symptoms, whether or not it's going to come in 3.5 months like it did for me, or 30 years down the road like it may have for you. You know, if that is what you're battling, I think that's the question and answer.
So here's what changed me. I did not, other than I do have an autoimmune, I have celiac, and I was diagnosed with that years ago after my first rupture. So I will never know if that is what triggered that. When you have an autoimmune, for those of you that don't know, you're typically born with a gene to get the autoimmune. That has to be present, but then a trauma or stressor has to trigger the event. So I'll never know if that was the event that triggered the autoimmune. So that very well could have been.
Well, let me interrupt you here. So autoimmune sometimes takes 10 years to finally show up. So whether it came from the implants being placed right away or something later on, you'll never know. For me, I actually have an autoimmune as well that I can for sure say came from my implants. And the reason that I know for sure is because this autoimmune is triggered by surgery. And when I got my implants in and when I had my C-section in 2007, prior to getting implants, I didn't have this autoimmune. When I got my implants out is when it decided to finally show. And then every surgery following, I had another C-section after, and it appears at every surgical site now. So
So what has happened to me though, is I would hear about these BII symptoms, breast implant illness, and the list is lengthy. And it's foggy head, it's losing hair, there are all kinds of things. But with me, what happened before I even knew I had the rupture, my blood work started changing. All of a sudden I had elevated liver enzymes, which I had never had ever. And I chased everything. I took out all my supplements. And I don't drink alcohol. So it was like taking everything out, but we could not figure out why I had these elevated liver enzymes. So that's the first thing. Then I find out I have the rupture, and I had some weird things happening. So I had just done a parasite cleanse. So I was already feeling great from that, but I had some of these like weird little things popping up on me. Well, knowing I have this absolute rupture now, I just want to give everyone the list of kind of what's transpired and why I decided to get them out. Because when I originally learned about the rupture, I was just going to replace them. I was like, yeah, I already had a rupture. No big deal. I don't have BII. I'm just going to replace them. But the list of things I've had bags under my eyes. I've never had bags under my eyes. That's new. 2, I have this horrible neck and pain, upper neck pain, right on the same side as the ruptured implant. That's also new. My joints hurt. My hands are hurting. I've got swelling. I had a rash. So all of a sudden, all these weird things. And I can't deny, I'm like, that's got to be related.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you don't have to have all of these symptoms to have breast implant illness. I heard you mention you aren't sure if you have it or not. Well, I mean, it really only takes one or two symptoms to kind of fall under that umbrella. So
who should be seriously considering removing them? Like, are you of the mindset, like everybody should take them out? Are you more of, if you're having symptoms, like what is your thought process on this?
I really think it's such an individual decision. I am never one that's going to push anybody and everybody to go get them removed. I think everybody should do their due diligence as far as their own research and decide what's best for them. I've actually created a risk assessment sheet that has, symptoms, that has medical history factors and things that might make you a person that's more susceptible to getting breast implant illness. This goes back to the question of, will everybody get it? I don't know,
Now, before we started recording, we talked a little bit about capsular contracture. Now, I had capsular contracture 3 times. And what that is, it's the tissue around your implant the capsule starts to really harden. And I've understood that it's basically trying to push the implant out of your body. So you get this huge hard tissue. And for me, I had repetitive capsular contracture until my last surgeon removed the capsule entirely, cleaned it out, and put a brand new implant with a capsule over the muscle. And then I didn't get capsular contracture this time. But what I learned from Erin before we started is that some people might not actually feel BII symptoms because it's protected in the capsule. Did I hear that right?
No, not necessarily that you won't feel them, but my theory is that the thicker the capsule, the less you are going to feel those symptoms.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, when an implant ruptures and it's capsule contained still, you sort of explained to me why I could still be getting leakage or mitotoxins. Did I hear that right? Into my body, even though it's capsule contained. What did I hear that right? Or if you can you help explain that? Like what? Because I know when I found out I had a rupture, the person that was looking at the ultrasound said to me, this is a doctor, she said, you can live with a rupture forever. And I thought, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right to me. And then my original plastic surgeon said, absolutely not. You've got to get them out. That's dangerous. So what is your feelings around that?
Well, the capsule, while it is there to try to protect, it's not containing everything. There is gel bleeds and leakage that can go through the capsules, which is going into the body. The FDA has actually banned the injection of, silicone into us for this reason, because it can cause death. It can cause all sorts of issues.
Wow.
Just the same silicone that they've banned is just contained inside of these implants. So,
because otherwise, like you're saying, why wouldn't they just inject silicone in you instead of putting it in something?
Exactly.
Wow. Interesting. So what does gel bleed mean?
Gel bleed means that it just is leakage outside of the actual implant capsule. So it doesn't mean you don't even have to have a rupture for there to be a gel bleed or leakage outside. The implants actually get these little caveats or indents or whatever you want to call in them, where the chemicals that are inside, whether it be heavy metals or the acetone or silica, whatever it is, they leak out through them. There's no conclusive study that is done that proves that implants are safe or unsafe in our human body temperature of 98.6 or higher. So you tell me if that's safe.
Yeah.
There's no study showing that it's actually contained within that implant.
Wow. Okay. Speaking of that and temperature, what do you know about infrared saunas and implants? Because it's interesting. I had just got in an infrared sauna and I was all excited about it. And then all I heard was, nope, you need to wait till you have the Explant, because the last thing you want to do, especially with a rupture, is heat them even more.
Yeah. And that's not just with the rupture. I think that's with implants in general. There is no studies done. There's no studies, again, to prove whether it's safe or unsafe for this material to be under temperatures that our body is, and when you raise the body temperature, you're essentially creating these capsules, these implants to expand and contract, which leaves open areas for stuff to leak out.
Now, I used to have the argument and say, well, what about people that have like a knee replacement or an elbow replacement and they're getting silicone put in there, they're getting other body parts. How does that different? And how does it actually, like, what is actually going on in our bodies? Like, I know I say it's an immune response, but what is actually happening? Like, if these things I'm feeling are related to the rupture, which we don't know, I'm assuming they might be, or they're psychosomatic. I don't know yet until they're out. But what is actually happening? Like, how does that actually work in your body? Like, what's going on that's creating these symptoms?
I don't think that people that have other replacements like the knee or the joint and stuff, I don't think that they're immune to this either. I think that it's just overall implant illness.
Okay.
Those particular things, though, you know, if I need something that's going to help me with a knee replacement, I might choose that risk of the autoimmune versus something that's like the implant that is, it's by choice. It's for aesthetics. There's no actual health need for it. When you look at the ingredients of what is actually in an implant, you can start to look at how these things correlate to symptoms that people feel.
Okay.
For example, let's take acetone, which is a neurotoxin. So it affects the nervous system and can lead to neurological damage, causing, memory loss and brain fog. Same with ethylbenzene. That's a chemical that's a human carcinogen.
Wow.
So that can cause respiratory issues and throat problems. A lot of people that have implants report shortness of breath or that choking feeling. So when you start to look at the ingredients, you start to correlate these symptoms that people feel.
So what is going on with our body? Like, is my body fighting the
Your body's
mitotoxin?
creating an immune response. So to the chemicals that are inside of the implants, your body is creating that immune response. The other pathogens and things that come from the result of the implant, whether it be mycotoxins, like you're saying, which is mold illness, whether it be pathogens that create in your body, it just knocks down your immune system. So your body becomes a nice host for these other pathogens that are opportunistic and like to feed off of the heavy metals and things like that in your body.
So for example, I went through a whole thing recently where I shared about having parasites from what I'm learning from you and what I learned from Laura and what I'm learning, I'm starting to put together that not everybody, for example, would get parasites or a staph infection or H. pylori or any of these things. But if you have the right environment for it, that stuff's going to thrive.
Exactly.
So putting pieces together, if I have this rupture, which I do, that very well, what's happening from that rupture could have been fueling why I was disrupting my whole gut biome and why I had a place to thrive for parasites. Is that correct?
Correct.
Wow.
Absolutely.
Because what Laura kept saying is we can get rid of the parasites, but until we find the root of it, we're not getting anywhere. So this could be the root. We don't know yet, but this could be the root of it.
Exactly. Parasites love to feed off of heavy metals. And didn't you say you had 3 of them show
3
up on your GI map?
3.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
which is rare to show up on a GI map to begin with.
It is.
So yeah. So I had 3 and I physically saw 3. So yeah, that's a whole other topic, but it's interesting because this goes back to, this is why I like what you do, Erin. This is what I like, why I like what Laura does. This is because if I had just gone like conventional medicine route, and I'm not against conventional Western medicine, I just think we have to take a rounded approach and take all different angles. I went in with a blood sugar problem. That was the first sign of anything. And I knew that was not right for me. And a conventional Western medicine doctor said, you need to go on metformin. And I didn't take that as the answer. And then digging got to the parasite problem, and then digging, and then the rupture. So it's like you keep going down this path. And that's why I encourage anybody listening, you've been diagnosed with whatever, like what is the root of it? Because it's usually deeper than this surface level thing that we're seeing.
Yeah, exactly. I think this is an important part for me to say that they've done a study that 97% of women that remove their breast implants feel relief, but only 23% of those women feel 100% complete relief. The other 74% of those women only experience partial relief. And you know why that is?
Why?
Because there's still so much underneath that those implants cause, so much dysfunction. It's like the idea of the autoimmune, right? Like the implants are kind of what loaded the gun and pulled the trigger, but you still have all this debris to clean up
That makes sense.
afterwards. You still have all these parasites and digestive dysfunction, maybe mycotoxins and mold illness. I have worked with so many women, and I could tell you, for the women that I've worked with that have had implants, there is a definite pattern that I see on their test.
Really?
When it comes to candida and fungi and bacterial overgrowth and parasites, it's almost like looking at the same test over and over again. So you can't tell me, this is just
an estrogen dominance because we mess up the beta glucuronidase or whatever it's called. So like all that stuff gets thrown off. Okay. So let's talk about that, because like you said, and the reason that you're helping me is it's not about just removing them. Like I could take them out, and I chose to take them out, not just because of symptoms. I'm taking them out because this is going to be my 6th surgery and I'm over it. I'm tired of it. So I'm taking them out. So I don't know what's on the other side of it, but you said it's really important that I don't even know if I'm going to say it correctly, but you said we need to open up drainage pathways, which I don't really understand. So I'm going to ask you about that. And then you said we need to make sure we're really cleaning things out after. So can we talk about that? And this is information for anybody dealing with this.
Yeah. Okay. So I love to talk about drainage pathways. So for anybody listening, if you don't know what drainage pathways are, those are our pathways for our body to remove our waste, our toxins, our pathogens through the colon, the liver, the lymph, the kidneys, the brain, and the skin. And each one of these pathways rely on each other to properly drain and detox. Okay. And if we don't have these open flowing pathways, it's like having a clogged toilet. Everybody knows what that is, right?
Yeah. Very little.
Yeah. Your body's going to have a really hard time detoxing all that gunk in there. The number one sign of a clogged drainage is constipation, but that doesn't have to be the only one. It kind of goes in an upside down funnel. We've got, congestion and acne or clogged pores, joint pain. I know you've got that. Low energy, inability to sweat, not urinating frequently enough, even a negative mindset. Those are clogged drainage pathways.
So how do we start to open them?
Number one, get you pooping daily.
Okay.
That is always.
I didn't have a problem there. Thank God.
You don't have a problem. But you can do things. This is always what I tell people to do prior to their explant. So we'll kind of segue into there. Doing things like dry brushing. I don't know if you engage in that, Natalie, but 2 to 3 days a week, dry brushing. Castor oil packs. My favorite is Queens of Thrones. They provide restorative sleep, liver, lymph, and colon detox. Castor oil has a way to soak into the tissues very deep and cause a cleansing and healing in any area that you put over it. And it also draws toxin outward.
And do you need to put it over your liver, or where do you put the castor oil?
I put it everywhere.
You put it everywhere?
Not really in one setting, but it's any place that I feel. I do put it over my liver a lot. Sometimes I put it over my pelvic area. Sometimes I put it over my thyroid. If I have swollen lymph nodes in my armpits, just put it over my armpits.
So do you put the pack on top of it always, or do you just put the oil?
Most of the time I put the pack over it, but
I don't fully understand this. So maybe you can, let's explain it. So, because if I don't understand it, I know other people don't understand. So you buy castor oil and you put it on, and then you put a cotton, is it cotton?
Flannel.
Flannel. What is the flannel doing?
The flannel is soaking it and holding it onto that
your body so it doesn't wipe off. Okay.
Yeah. Then you're going to want, this is why I love the Queens of Thrones pack, because it's kind of all in one. You're going to want to have a plastic wrap over the top if you don't actually have a pack, because you need heat to activate it. So once you have that plastic over, you put either a heat pack, or with the Queens of Thrones, you don't need it. It has a special coating on the outside that traps your body heat in to activate it.
Okay. So I should be using a castor oil pack, and anyone having something like this coming up, you should be using a castor oil pack. You said daily?
No, 3 to 4 days a week.
3 to 4. And how long do you keep them on for?
I start with 30 minutes, have all clients start with 30 minutes, then you slowly increase from there. Because the castor oil pack, well, it's a good form of opening the drainage pathways. It's also going to push detox. So people that are starting from the very beginning, you don't want to have a bad detox reaction, which is called a Herx reaction.
Got it. Okay. And then the dry brushing, explain that. I have a dry brush. I don't know how to use it. What do I do? What do we do with them? Everyone can buy one on Amazon. I just don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, I actually have a link that I can share for everybody on how to dry brush. There is a specific direction and motion that you want to brush in over your body. But you always start with the legs and brush upward in these small, short strokes. It doesn't have to be hard. You don't want to create redness on the skin, but you want to move in the direction towards your lymph nodes. Okay.
What about things that we take?
Vitamin
she sent me all kinds of supplements, and I just said, okay, I'll take them, but I didn't know what so she sent me some very serious vitamin C. Why are we doing that?
Vitamin C is just to help the immune system, to nourish the body, help the immune system. So 2,000 to 5,000 milligrams per day. Collagen to boost to also
I'm a huge
boost
fan of
immune.
that anyway.
Yep. And it's to produce the collagen in the skin for healing. A good probiotic, preferably a spore-based probiotic that doesn't degrade or die from the stomach acid. And then supplementation. And then what's the
TUDCA? Was that unique to me, or what's that?
That's unique to you. So
got it.
So that's really all I give for general supplementation for somebody who's not working with me. The phase 1 that you're going through, Natalie, for opening drainage pathways, the things that I chose for you is based on your medical history and your lifestyle.
Okay, that makes sense. But everybody could be doing those things. Now, do you recommend anytime you're going through a surgery that you do those things? Because even if someone's listening and they don't have implants, I would imagine you're going to be taking anesthesia, you're going to be doing antibiotics, there's going to be all kinds of stuff.
Absolutely.
So should we all be doing that ahead of time?
Absolutely.
Got it.
It just helps to give the body a good support. Another good thing to take to prep is magnesium citrate. For someone who's not pooping daily, I know you don't have this issue, but it really helps to soften the stool. You're going to have sleepy bowels when you wake up from surgery. Most everybody is constipated at least for a day or two after
Not
surgery.
if you take ozonated magnesium.
So the magnesium citrate will really help with that.
Have you that Oxy-Power, whatever it's called? Have you tried that?
I haven't.
Okay, Laura turned me on to that. That stuff is crazy. You all can get that. It's called Oxy powder. It's ozonated magnesium. That stuff, you will not have a poop problem if you take it. I'm just going to say that.
That's a good thing.
Okay. So, and then what about post-surgery? What has to happen?
Post-surgery is very unique, I'd say. You want to wait at least 4 to 6 weeks before you're doing any type of heavy detoxing. But just generally, if you're not going to work with a practitioner, I'd say general things that you can do is some type of heavy metal support just from natural stuff like spirulina or chlorella. You can take different binders. I know Cellcore has some good binders.
Can you explain what binders do? I took binders with the parasite stuff, but what is a binder? And I don't fully understand it. Can you take them all the time? Is that bad to do?
You don't really want to take binders all the time. Certain binders will bind to your good stuff too, your minerals, your vitamins, things like that. So you have to be careful with the frequency and how long you're taking them. But it's really dependent on which one you choose. Something like spirulina, chlorella, natural things like that, they're not going to bind to our natural good minerals that we need in our body. They essentially bind to mycotoxins or metals or other pathogens and help to escort them out of the body. This is why it's really important to be pooping every single day too. You don't want them to bind and then get down and get stuck in your large intestine somewhere and then let go of the pathogen or whatever it is it's binding to that you're trying to poop out.
Got it. Okay. So I feel like I'm like equipped because you've helped me with what I need to do. What are people that if they have, because I know you specialize, you do a lot of things, but one of the things that you are fully an expert in is explant surgery and BII and recovering from that. If somebody is choosing not to remove implants, are there things they should be doing or not doing because you don't want to incur, because what's coming up for me is here, I'm trying to get rid of toxins, but if you're not going to remove your implants, could that create a problem?
So they can be doing all the things that I just listed that will help to support the body in all those ways, definitely with the vitamin C and the collagen and dry brushing, castor oil packs. But I would highly suggest staying away from things like the sauna or hot tubs, things that are going to elevate your body temperature significantly, because we don't know how much more that causes leakage through the implant shell.
That makes sense. I'm starting to hear this more and more. And it's interesting because a lot of people are into infrared sauna, but it could be dangerous if we have this. What about the opposite? What about cold plunge? Could that create a problem or no?
I don't know so much about the cold plunge. Honestly, I think heat's more of an issue, but remember, anything that causes them to expand and contract
could create an issue.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, this is super helpful. What else do you typically help with? Because while I have you here and you're obviously super knowledgeable on this, and I know that you're helping me more with the Explant and talking and educating me on BII, but what are the other things that you typically help people with?
Honestly, I work with everybody. If anybody's coming with any type of unwanted symptoms or, chronic problems that they just can't seem to get rid of, their doctor's telling them that they have normal blood work. Just getting to the root cause is for anything. So
what got you into this, Erin? What made you interested in helping so many people with these? You're like a detective. You're like a health detective. What got you so interested in this?
So I've actually been in the medical field for over a decade, but most of that was spent as a registered dental hygienist. And I transitioned into the functional health space just a few years ago due to my own downward spiral of events that were triggered from the breast implants. So I've gone through a lot of things. I've gone through breast implant illness. I had mold illness. I've had adrenal issues. So I kind of feel like I'm an expert in a lot of things because I've been through a lot of things myself and have had to heal myself, through all those things.
What's going to come up with some listeners, and they know how I feel about this because I've shared many times, but what might come up for some people is, okay, well, why wouldn't I just go to my doctor for this? Can you shed some light on your opinion on why what you do could be used in conjunction with regular doctors?
Sure. So I really wish that Western medicine and functional medicine would always work as marriage together, because I think that there's a place for both of them. With me, I'm going to take more of a holistic approach to their health and wellness, treating the body as a whole and focusing on identifying those root causes to their health complaints rather than just treating the symptoms like a doctor would. So, I use functional lab testing to assess these imbalances that these people are feeling with their digestion and how well their body detoxifies, their nutritional deficiencies, chemical overloaded, such, and then use that data to combine with their medical history and lifestyle factors, versus your doctor might not look at that. He might not even believe you that you have these symptoms because they look at one marker or two markers on a blood work panel and say, oh, everything's fine. They are there to manage and treat disease and diagnose disease. I am here not to diagnose disease, but to catch dysfunction before it turns into disease.
So here's what I want to say. My experience with working with you and people that I've, because I'm a huge fan. I call Laura the gut genie. I've now named you the health detective. So the why I like working with a gut genie and the health detective is that this is their work and they go way deeper and they take the time and they have a whole span of knowledge around all of the preventative and the roots of things. So I'm a fan of regular doctors too, but as you mentioned, they're looking to quickly treat the symptom, to quickly treat what's going on. So I think it's really great to have somebody in your back pocket that really will help with this. I will say I just sent my 77-year-old mom to Erin because I felt strong. She was not getting evaluated by her conventional doctors the way that when I see what's going on. And I felt really good about sending my mom to Erin. So I highly recommend her. How can people work with you? How can they find you? Where do you want them to go to explore working with you?
They can go to my website at ecrestorative.com. I also have another website that is just for my breast implant illness ladies called Everything BII. they can go there to read about all my services. They can go and download a free guide on how to reverse their chronic symptoms from breast implant illness. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Erin. I so appreciate this. Thank you.
Thank you.